right, so if you haven't heard, the great Nigel Farage has announced the establishment of his new Brexit party ahead of the upcoming European parliamentary elections in May. Farage and a very impressive list of over 70 candidates are hoping to capitalize on the political disaster and fallout over the Brexit bumbling by the Conservatives and Theresa May at Westminster. Needless to say, leavers are, or Brexiteers, those who voted to leave the EU, they are frustrated to no end. They're completely disillusioned and frankly furious with the Conservative Party and their complete ineptitude at implementing Brexit. Only 8% of leavers believe that May and the Conservative Party are managing Brexit well, which of course raises the question, who on earth are those 8% of leavers? How could anyone, let alone 8%, think that May and the Conservatives have handled anything well at this point? It does look like Conservatives may actually drop to third place in the European parliamentary elections. People are just so disillusioned with the Conservatives, the anti-establishment sentiments that have dominated the whole Brexit debate over the last couple of years, I think are going to be absolutely devastating to the Tories, the Conservatives, at least politically speaking. The Conservatives just seem to be acting like, well, let's face it, they seem to be acting like they're just so dedicated to the globalist status quo, the globalist political aristocracy to which they belong, that they're even willing to actually sacrifice their majority in order to ride this Brexit nonsense out as far as they're concerned, right? They see polls supposedly showing a rising Remainer tally, and they think they're going to be able to just kind of, you know, ride this thing out, forever frustrate Brexit sentiments and perhaps come back to power at another time. They've all been profiting off of this globalist arrangement with the EU. But in the process, they've devastated the Conservative coalition, most of whom voted to leave. They see the bullies in Brussels absolutely mocking and ridiculing Theresa May, who, again, remember, of course, was a Remainer. They see them outmaneuvering her, outsmarting her. The EU's dictated the terms from the very beginning of the Brexit process. The British Parliament has taken a no deal off the table. They can't even use that for leverage. I mean, it's hard to imagine how more bungled the Brexit process could possibly have been. Somehow Theresa May still remains in power, astonishingly. Her own Brexit proposal has been rejected, what, how many times now, right? 3 full times? 4? It's been rejected precisely because it was emphatically not a Brexit, right? It would have left Northern Ireland, and as a consequence, all of Britain still under EU control and regulation. I mean, it was just a joke. And now to make matters even worse, Theresa May has agreed to delay the Brexit for another several months. The date has been moved all the way to October 31st, for heaven's sakes, and why not just kick it down indefinitely? So needless to say, Conservatives are seeing their coalition collapse, which means that Britain is perfectly positioned for the successful emergence and rise of a new pro-Brexit third party, and that's where Nigel Farage is coming in. The former UKIP leader has officially launched his new Brexit party, and he's calling for nothing less than a democratic revolution in the UK politics. With the delay of Brexit, Britain is now having to scramble together candidates for the upcoming European parliamentary elections on 23rd of May. And so the Brexit Party has been launched. And what's so exciting is that the latest polls show that the Brexit Party combined with UKIP are getting 29% of the vote for the upcoming elections. 29% beats both Labour, who are polling at around 24%, and the Conservatives, who have collapsed to barely 16%. It does look like disaffected Tory voters are defecting over to either UKIP or this new Brexit party, and they should. The Conservatives should be punished for their absolute and inexcusable bumbling of Brexit. And it appears that they will be punished. It looks like at this point, the Brexit party and UKIP will be coming in first place with a combined 30% of the vote, followed by Labour, and then far behind by the Conservatives. And this, of course, may be the bright side to all of this, right? It means that the European Parliament will now have even more nationalist populists to contend with after the May elections. The nationalist populists throughout Europe couldn't be more ecstatic at the news of a new Brexit party and a reinvigorated UKIP party. Now, we've been analyzing for the last few months indicators and signs that there really is a massive populist uprising brewing under the surface in Britain, of which Brexit was but the latest manifestation. And it certainly will not be the last. And it appears that we may be seeing now its latest manifestation. Again, if we count those who actually continue to stick with the Conservatives, that 16%, we're seeing the emergence of a nationalist, populist, conservative coalition of around 45-46% in Britain, which is very formidable indeed. And if the latest studies on the political persuasions of Britain's young people were any indicators, well, then that number is only going to skyrocket. We talked about this on yesterday's video. A study conducted by the University of Sheffield and the University of Southampton in the UK found that Britain's young people are, in their words, now far more right-wing and authoritarian in their political outlook than any other previous generation. In fact, this research found that political attitudes have shifted further to the right with each of the last three generations, again overlapping with some really interesting research findings in the United States. According to another study just a few months back, 41% of 18 to 24-year-olds and 58, nearly 60% of 25 to 49-year-olds thought that immigration was far too high in Britain. So we'll obviously be keeping a very close eye on how things develop over the next few weeks, but right now, all things suggest that as the Conservatives have bungled Brexit, their voters are absolutely ready to rebel. Those very same sentiments behind Brexit appear to be ready to reawaken, and it looks like we ain't seen nothing yet.